Kyle Shanahan seems burnt out to me in the sense he's a grinder. He works really hard. I'm sure he stays up late. He's been doing it as a head coach here for 8 years. He came so close to the Super Bowl, didn't get it. This year when McCaffrey went down, he probably knew he wasn't going to get it this year, and it just seems kind of worn out mentally.
That's what. Yeah, I would say worn out better than burnt out. I
Worn
think
out.
he actually he means well. He wants to
Yeah.
win.
Yeah.
He does want to win. I don't think he knows how to win, but he looks like a weary, worn out man. He looks like a guy who needs to take a year away.
I agree. And I think there's a look of that someone gets when the things that used to work for them, that made them special, made them who they are, don't work anymore. And you start to lose confidence in yourself. Who am I? This stuff doesn't work anymore. It used to be so easy. Now I don't know what to do.
Well, I know what he should do. A really good coach would reinvent himself. The stuff that used to work doesn't work anymore. That's okay. I'm creative. I'll come up with new stuff. He doesn't, Iggy. He has a system, and he is a slave to the system, and he makes his players a slave to the system.
I also think what's interesting is that the system has problems, but the Niners' problems are so much bigger. His problems are so much bigger than the system. Like, it's the culture. And I think what's so interesting about Harbaugh will go to a team, change the culture, win immediately. If Harbaugh was coaching this Niners team, they'd be in the playoffs.
I would have to say so, and he wouldn't talk about excuses. He had no patience for that. He would have gotten rid of the kicker with a smile, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he'd have him in the playoffs. He would. You were, if you don't mind, I may be jumping ahead, but what Kittle and Bosa said about the Detroit Lions culture. Yeah.
Yeah, it was so interesting. I mean, the last few weeks we've been talking to the Niners, like, how do you motivate yourself down this stretch? And they're like, well, we're professional football players and you get 17 game checks and, this is a pretty good profession. And if you can't motivate yourself in this, you got a problem. But then they're looking at the Lions and like, the mentality of their coach, this is what Kittle and Bosa said, the mentality of their coach is just so infectious and you can see it rubs off on all their players. And they're such a well-coached team. And it really looks like he's a lot of fun to play for. It looks like that team is a lot of fun to play for. And that's really cool what they got going on over there. And it seemed to me like older players who've made a ton of money playing professional sports, who are having a really crappy year, not personally, but as a team, and are looking over across the field and recognizing what it used to feel like to have a lot of fun playing football and realizing, man, it hasn't felt like that in a while.
To have a lot of fun and expectations.
Yeah.
I mean,
going somewhere. This season isn't even started yet for them. The playoffs are around the corner.
Yeah. And I think Sirianni and Philly must have the same effect as well.
And they believe in their head coach.
Yes. Now, I can't say the Niners don't believe in their head coach. I wonder if they do, but I don't know enough to say that they don't.
You can see the Lions believe in Campbell.
Yes, that I can see. I don't know about the Niners. I'm an agnostic as far as that's concerned. But clearly, they believe in Campbell. And, I like Iggy. When his players make a nice play, he hugs them when they come off the field.
Yeah.
And he means it.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny with, like, Bosa said after the game, he said, I really didn't play well again in Miami because it was my first game ever in the NFL where there was nothing at stake. And I just didn't motivate myself. And I had to, like, reset my mindset. It's like, well, maybe if you had a coach like Dan Campbell, he would have helped you with that. He would have made that easy. And I think that's what Dan Campbell can provide, what Nick Sirianni can provide, what Jim Harbaugh can provide. A lot of coaches have that element that Kyle doesn't. And if his offense isn't great, then the players have to do it on their own. And it seems like they didn't this year.
Iggy, have you ever seen Harbaugh go up and hug a player?
Absolutely, yes. I remember it right now. I remember first season with the Niners, they beat the Saints in the playoffs, and Vernon Davis makes that catch. We're talking about game-winning touchdown throws. Alex Smith throws one to Vernon Davis. He smashes into Roman Harper, catches the touchdown, holds on to it. Vernon had dropped a lot of passes in his career. He comes off the field crying. Harbaugh goes on him, giving this big bear hug. Yeah, absolutely. Yes, Harbaugh's a very emotional person.
Okay, Kyle Shanahan, have you ever seen him hug a player? I've seen players hug him.
Yeah, no.
Right?
I haven't seen it.
Yeah, I don't know what it means. I haven't seen it. I haven't seen Saleh would hug players when he was on the Niners, right?
Yeah.
But I've never seen Kyle do it, and I'm not sure what it means. Some
Here's
people.
One more go ahead. Sorry.
Never mind.
No. Go ahead.
Some people don't like to be touched or to touch. Bill Walsh did not like people to touch him.
True.
So I'm not like that. I like to hug people. I'm very emotional. Again, I don't know Kyle, but he strikes me as someone who likes to have a tiny bit of non-physical distance.
Another thing that was kind of stood out about the culture of the Niners. So they lose this game. Afterward in the locker room, well, we heard what Bosa and Kittle said. They're sort of longing attitude about the Lions. But then you had Juwan Jennings, who has had a good season. He had a good game, and he had that moment early on where he like really embarrassed that defensive back for the Lions, where he just like blocked them off the field, and they got offsetting penalties. After the game, he's at his locker and he's dressed in like this full Louis Vuitton outfit, really loud, probably very expensive. He got paid, and he's got these really nice glasses on, and he seems pleased with himself. And someone asked him about that play, and he says, that guy made a wish and I granted it for him. And it seems like we've seen this a lot from this team. Like they will talk trash about the opponent that just beat him. And it's like, are you celebrating some kind of like one-on-one personal battle victory? Because it's a team sport.
I know what you mean. Again, I don't know Juwan Jennings, and he's a hell of a player, Iggy. He's a 49er. He's everything you want. But my growing up in that 49ers locker room, I was a young man when I started. When you had a loss, no one was laughing. They were businesslike. They were taking their showers. They were getting dressed. They were putting away their stuff. They were talking to the media. They were available, but their tone was somber. We don't get to joke around. I don't get to celebrate the touchdown I scored because the 49ers lost. And my feeling was that Bill and George monitored that. And if they thought someone was enjoying himself after a loss, there would be a meeting the next day in his office. It's not appropriate. Loss in football, let's leave out baseball and others. There's only 17 games. Loss is very serious. A loss is very serious. It represents a high percentage of a season. Mm-hmm. There is no smiling. There is no kibitzing. Mm-hmm. You're getting dressed and you answer serious questions in a serious tone because you lost. And you respect the fact that you lost.
Yeah. And I don't think the Niners do. They've had this attitude that, they're better than their record. They've said it so many times. And I think that if they had finally pulled off this win over the Lions, which for a minute I thought they were going to, that they could tell themselves that. But instead they lose like they always do. They've lost now 6 of their last 7. And they still were, some of them were in the mode of like, well, we proved something tonight. No. You didn't. Well, you did.
Yeah, well, you did. You proved you could lose again. Right.
Yeah. All right. No, well, that's enough of that.
Hold on. There is nothing to take away from that game except they lost.
Yeah.
There is no silver lining. You could say, well, Purdy played very well in the first half, and he did. He was a pleasure to watch. He was the Purdy that we really have come to admire, but he gave it away in the second half. And I've said this to Iggy. A touchdown pass is less good than an interception is bad. Interceptions are way more bad than a TD pass is good. And he did 2 of them. They kill you. They kill you. picks.
And say what you want about Jared Goff, no one considers him elite. I think a lot of Niner fans would kind of look down their noses at him or sneer at him, but he was not going to give that game away last night.
No, Iggy, they really wanted. They didn't even really need the game. They
No.
really wanted to win,
Uh-huh.
and it might even have been foolhardy what they were
Yes.
doing. But their attitude is, we're going to come in here and kick your ass because we can kick your ass, and it's not because they got beat by the Niners last year in the playoffs. I mean, that may have been like 2%. It's, we're a team that kicks ass, and we're going to kick your ass. And you know what? I admire it.
Do you think the Lions would waste their time with a project or a head case like Jake Moody?
No, he would have been gone.
Yeah.
He would. Oh, Dan Campbell would be very polite and very firm. No, we need better than this.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Also, they wouldn't be investing third-round picks and kickers because they go for it on fourth down most of the time anyway.
Good point.
Which I love about them.